Good morning everyone, thank you for tuning into Tokyo Yo. My name is T. Here we are doing another yo-yo review, and this one might be the most thrilled I've ever been to get a yo-yo. This is a yo-yo I've been waiting for a long time. I've just never had the opportunity to get it, and then when I finally had the chance to get it, they didn't have the one I wanted, so I ended up... Anyway, it's a long story, we'll get into it in a little bit, but today we're going to be looking at the magic yo-yo Vulfgang. So is the Vulfgang capable of making beautiful music, or is this one tune that's just going to fall flat? Alright, let's take a closer look at the Vulfgang. So the Vulfgang has this rounded V shape. At least a lot of people call it a V shape, but to me this is pretty much as O as you can get. You do see from the bearing there's no step up, and then there's this sharp rise, then there's this really interesting cut, then it kind of flattens out a little bit out to the rims here. But generally I would call this a pretty organic shape, but a lot of people consider it an OV. In the cup you're going to see tons of cuts here. There's one here, and one last one in here. And then in the center you have the Vulfgang, where it says Premium Bimetal Yo-Yo. I really like the font choice on this. I'm usually not a fan of engravings, but I do like how kind of classy this font is. The material is 6061. It is blasted on the pink and black versions of this. It's blasted on the silver and gold versions. It's glossy, but I had to get my hands on a blasted one, so I'm very glad I got this one. And then the rims out here are stainless steel. These rims are not really polished. They're slightly shiny, but they're kind of had that more brushed industrial look, which I think really looks great with this. The feel of the Vulfgang is so comfortable. You might think that it doesn't really fit well in the hand, or it may feel strange because of this cut, but all that really does is make it feel more unique. I've found that this is one of the most comfortable bimetals I've ever played with. Because of this rounded nature, it just fits in the hand really, really well. It's a little bit on the wide side, so it fits into the hand very naturally. It's just so comfortable. And the look of this thing is just absolutely premium. I've seen a lot of people complain that it does say in the center here, premium bimetal. That kind of hurt the yo-yo for them, but personally I don't really mind that. I mean, this is budgeted as a premium yo-yo. It is made as a premium yo-yo, so that doesn't really bother me. And I mean, you just take one look at this thing. You got all these cuts in here, you've got the beautiful rims, you've got the amazing colors. I think you got the pink, the jet black, the gold and silver. They all kind of look like iPhone colors. But, you know, these big rims, the shape, all these cuts, everything about it, the bearing, it's just, this thing feels really premium. So I totally don't mind that it says that on there. This thing feels fantastic. And you can see here for the shape of the yo-yo and the width, here it is next to the iceberg. You're going to notice that it is a lot wider than the iceberg here. Diameter on the iceberg is actually bigger, as you can see. Here it is next to the Vapor Motion. A little bit wider than the Vapor Motion. And again, has a bigger diameter than the Vulfgang. So it's interesting that it has this wider design but with a smaller diameter. It gives it a really interesting hand feel. So this yo-yo was designed by the designer of the carp fin, which is another magic yo-yo that came out very recently. The carp fin is in my top 3 yo-yos of all time. It's one of my favorite yo-yos ever. It's kind of similar in a lot of ways in the shape. It's got that rounded V shape. It's got the open cup. It plays fantastically. It looks fantastic. It's just everything about the carp fin is, I really love it. So the carp fin and the Vulfgang and also the Rex, which came out after this, and the Rex is a titanium and stainless steel bimetal. But all 3 of these yo-yos were designed by Yixing Tan, who is a designer out of Germany. I love the shapes of the things he does. I love the feel of the yo-yos he makes. Just the artistic motivation behind all the yo-yos he does are just really amazing, I think. I feel like his yo-yos totally don't play like yo-yos from Magic Yo-Yo, and I feel like they don't play like a lot of yo-yos from other companies as well. They play super unique and extremely high quality despite the fact that they're pretty inexpensive. If you'd like, I interviewed Yixing Tan on Tokyo Yo Talk. You can go check out that video. I'll have a link up here. We didn't talk too much about the Vulfgang, but still it's interesting to hear the kind of process behind his design and everything like that. I did throw this when it first came out. I had a chance to at Spin Gear, actually, when I went in to get something else. The guy who was working there had it on the table and he said, "Oh, check it out, it's the new bimetal from Magic Yo-Yo." And I threw it a couple times and I was like, whoa, this thing is awesome. But it was like, oh, well over $100. I couldn't pick it up at that time, sadly. So it's been a long time for this thing. This has kind of been my grail yo-yo. This is the yo-yo I've been looking for a long time. I've really wanted the Vulfgang ever since it was announced, ever since I saw it on Instagram. The pictures of it were just gorgeous. Everything I'd heard about it, especially people who had got one and said, "Hey, it's basically a bimetal carp fin. T, why don't you have one?" And it just was killing me that I couldn't get one. It's pretty expensive, so it's just about like $100 or so. And so I just never had a chance to get it because it was too expensive for my budget at the time. And then when I finally had the budget, they didn't have any more of the blasted versions that I wanted. So it's been a really long time getting this thing. So I want to give a special shout out to Jeremy, who is _yoyo.jpg on Instagram. So initially I was asking for people on Instagram if they had one, and then somebody pointed out that he had announced that he had one on the Facebook BST. So that was kind of my first experience with the Facebook BST, which is an amazing community. There's tons of awesome stuff up there every day. If you've got a small budget, I wouldn't recommend joining it because there's a lot of really tempting offers on there. But if you're open to trades, which I totally am, it was really cool to see all that stuff. And I'm just so happy that Jeremy was able to get this to me, and it's awesome. So go over and give him a follow on Instagram. This has a really nice feel to it. It plays against its weight. I think it is right around 66 grams or so, which you know is a typical weight for a lot of yo-yos these days. A lot of times yo-yos are lighter when they're bimetal. You can put a lot of weight into the rims, you can make the body of the yo-yo differently shaped, and you can kind of play with weight distribution and shape and stuff like that. But I like that this is weighted normally, but then you have these big rims for added stability and spin time. It kind of gives this yo-yo a really different feeling on the string and in the hand and on the catch and everything. It's got a really nice float to it. Now I wouldn't say it's floaty, I don't really like to use that term, but there's something about it that it seems like this yo-yo it's almost like you're entering bullet time. A lot of times when I bring it from one hand to the other and I'm kind of bringing the yo-yo around, it just seems to like float in midair. It just stops and I feel like I have all the time in the world to get ready and catch it. It's really cool. And I know a lot of times floaty kind of has this feeling of like, well, yeah, it's floaty and it's nice, but it's not stable. But this really kind of nails both of those. The spin on this thing is super long. I've been really impressed by it. And I know that's the thing with bimetals, right, is that you put all this weight on the rims and it gives this crazy amount of spin time. But a lot of people kind of give O-shapes a bad rap because they don't always have the greatest spin time. They're not always the most stable. But this thing has been designed so perfectly. The weight distribution is so even that it just spins forever and the stability is extremely good. I've been shocked at this thing. Like, I can't turn it. Like, the only way you can really tilt it is if you have a really bad throw or if you purposely want to tilt it. Otherwise, it keeps its plane extremely well. And because of those two factors, it's so much fun to play with on the string. When I first threw it, I sort of felt like it was kind of like an edge, actually. It has that feeling of a bimetal. Sometimes when you throw some bimetals, sort of like the Space Cadet or other ones like that, they have a really special feeling to them, but they don't quite feel super different than a really nice monometal. But when you throw like the Edge, for example, you can really feel that it's a bimetal. It's so different, it's so special. And the Vulfgang has that exact same feel to me. Now, it could just be because I'm a huge fan of the carp fin and I know how that thing plays back and front, but this thing feels so special because of that weight, because like I said, it plays with the weight a little bit. It feels super, super light, but at the same time, it just plays with the power of a really, really heavy yo-yo. And it just feels so special. It feels like what a bimetal should be. It feels like a super long spinner, super stable. Grinds are pretty good on this because of the blasted finish on it. These are really matte, the pink and the black one, as I mentioned. The shape isn't the best for grinds, but definitely if you get your finger in there and you hold your plane, there's no problem with that. Finger spins are so-so because of the engraving, as I said. You do have the catch zone in here, so it is easy to catch. It kind of spins around, and you can get it back into a bind, no problem, but they're not going to be the longest finger spins, but they do work. And in terms of its overall playability, like I said before, it just, because of the stability of the spin time, I feel like I can do just about anything with this yo-yo. A lot of times you might feel like, because the yo-yo shaped or because of the way it has because of a certain feature it has or something, it may feel like it's not capable of doing everything. This feels like it's capable of doing anything you throw at it. Smoothness is something I want to talk about with this yo-yo too. I know that a lot of people have said before that it isn't the most smooth yo-yo on the market, and I would agree with that, but here's the thing. On the string, this thing is absolute butter, which is crazy because when I first got it, like I threw it down and I tested the nail vibe and I was like, oh yeah, it's fine. But then when I played with it, I was like, wait a second. Is there any vibe? Because when it's on the string and when it's playing, it's absolutely laser smooth. And it's pretty awesome because I feel like there's a lot of these bimetals that are coming out now that are like $150, $160, $200 that are these super expensive bimetals, and they're like, yeah, they're super dead smooth, not a single hint of vibe on it. But like, I've thrown a couple of those and they're just not fun. But this manages to be fun, and you know, it may not be the perfect yo-yo for everybody because the shape or whatever about it, but I think it's my perfect bimetal. I really believe that this is the funnest bimetal I've ever thrown. It's just an absolute joy to play with every day. So I really think Yixing Tan outdid himself with this. I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to throw the Rex, but I'd like to see if that's kind of another step up because this definitely feels like a carp fin with a jet engine built in. So pro number one, the color. I love all the colors of these, and there was a couple times I had a chance to pick up a black one, but I felt like the rose gold was beautiful. A lot of yo-yos these days are really bright pink, and that's nice, but something about this soft rose gold just makes it super classy. The style of the yo-yo, not just the color, but the cut that you have in here is really cool. I like that there's no step in here, so it gives it kind of a really interesting, unique look. The rims are really nice. Like I said, they're not polished, but they do really, really match the look of the yo-yo. I like the inside cuts here. I like the engraving, even though I usually don't. I think the font on it is really nice. The power of the yo-yo, like I said, is just really nice. This thing plays with so much power. The stability, as I mentioned, is fantastic. You can't turn it unless you want to. The matte finish is super good, and it goes along with the color really well too. I like the width of it. It's not super wide, but it does feel like it really inspires confidence. So when you're bringing the yo-yo around for this kind of big explosive trick, or you're trying to get the string in for a slack or a whip or something, that width is on your side. You never feel like it's gonna miss. And the response is fantastic. I've been so happy recently to get all these yo-yos with really good response. And the carp fin has fantastic response too. I'm not sure if it's the exact same types of pads in here, I would imagine, since Yixing Tan designed it. But the response on this thing is superb. I haven't had any problem with any string that I've used on this, and especially with Zipline, it works extremely well with the response. And yeah, I just like having a bimetal that I can have as an EDC. I feel like so many bimetals are really super fancy, or they're coming out from these like really boutique companies that have extremely limited runs, and they're really nice, but they're really, really expensive. And I'm always afraid to take that kind of stuff out because if it gets dinged, you know, or if it gets really damaged, you're out, whatever, $200, and there's no telling if that yo-yo is going to be available again. And it's just so nice to have a yo-yo that I feel like is so super fun and so super unique and plays so super good that I don't want to leave it at home. I want to bring it absolutely everywhere. So I totally think this is the bimetal EDC that you've been looking for. I guess the only con I would say is it is a bit expensive. That's why I held back on buying it for a long time, just because I never had the budget for it. It is around $100 or so. I do feel like it's worth that price. I've played with bimetals that are more expensive than that I totally didn't think were worth the price. But I can happily say that even though I traded for this, if I had the money at the time, I would have paid full price for this. Absolutely. I think the Vulfgang is for the sort of person who wants a really nice bimetal in their lineup that they could use as an EDC. The ring is actually part of the yo-yo. It's not just one of those that's kind of put on. You know, I banged a bimetal on the ground once and the ring actually just slipped off. Like it was just a ring that was like glued to the yo-yo itself, and that kind of disappointed me. But this one's actually part of the yo-yo, which makes it super nice and makes it feel really sturdy as well. So if you're looking for a sturdy, nice premium bimetal, this is the way to go. If you're afraid of spending, you know, $100 on a bimetal, you're not sure if you're gonna like. I'd recommend giving it a try at the store if you get a chance, but I know they're kind of sold out everywhere. But honestly, I can say if you're a fan of the carp fin, you're gonna love this thing. All right, boys and girls, thank you so much for watching Yoyo today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave me a like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Huge thanks to CloZee for the use of their song Koto, which I use at the intro and the outro of this video. I absolutely love that track. I'm 100% sure I'm never gonna get tired of it, and I've heard a lot of good things. I think you guys like it too, so thanks so much to CloZee for letting me use it. Links in the description, so please go check out their stuff. Don't forget to check me out on Instagram at Yoyo Videos. I do stories and a whole bunch of stuff over there. And you can also check me out at Vero. I'm on this new social network app. I haven't really put too much stuff up there, but it kind of lets you put up like books and movies and other things like that. So it could be kind of fun to check me out on there as well. I'm at Yoyo on Vero. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. Take care, have a nice day, and sayo na.